Hi, we're back again. We went all the way through page 145 and all of chapters, finished 16, did all of 17, and did all of 18. So today we're starting on 19 on page 147 at the bottom. It says chapter 19, Benefits of the Teacher of the Law. 4 important points. Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I will continue from page 147 at the bottom. Point 1, regarding the benefits of the teacher of the law. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says the words teacher of the law means the teacher of the law who carries out the 5 practices. Now, what are the 5 practices? The 5 practices we've said a million times, but I'm going to read them to you again. They are to embrace, read, recite, expound, and transcribe the Lotus Sutra. So all of us that basically function as bodhisattvas of the earth pretty naturally accomplish that. Whether it's even sending a text or an encouraging note to someone, we're doing all of those things. We're quite often we'll be transcribing something from the Lotus Sutra or from the Gosho. And in the latter day of the law, don't forget, the sutra is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So this is really all pertaining not to Shakyamuni's 28 chapter Lotus Sutra, but to the purpose and circumstance of being a bodhisattva of the earth in the latter day as a disciple of Nichiren who chants Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, revealing the eternally endowed 3 bodies. And that's, again, only accomplished when you perceive yourself to be the Buddha exactly as you are, and you actually express the 6th stage of practice. So many of these things are going to have to do with actually the point of you having culminated your practice personally and legitimately to that 6th stage of being one mind with Nichiren, and your biggest goal is not so much things for yourself, but same things for others, Kosen Rufu. Okay, so point 1, regarding the benefits of the teacher of the law. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says on the bottom of page 147, the words teacher of the law mean the teacher of the law who carries out the 5 practices. So it's not those of you that are casually practicing. You'll get there someday if you decide to continue to be more and more earnest as you go on. But this is really for people that have achieved Kosen Rufu, or achieved the 6th stage of practice and are functioning as teachers of the law legitimately, okay? Because they already have brought forth their Buddha nature. They are Buddhas, okay? The word benefits, kudoku, means, going on to page 148, reward that is represented by the purification of the 6 sense organs. Now that reward is the fact that you've attained Buddhahood in your present form, because you cannot attain Buddhahood in your present form unless you've purified the 6 sense organs, and in the process of attaining stage 6 practice, you do that. You attain Buddhahood. You've purified your 6 sense organs. In general, second sentence, we may say that now Nichiren and his followers who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo are carrying out the purification of the 6 sense organs, because this comes from your practice and your faith in the Gohonzon and chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon and striving to be of the same mind as Nichiren, the one mind. Here, they are acting as teachers of the law of Myoho Renge-kyo and possess great virtue, toku. And it says here that the Chinese character for character is virtue, or toku also means happiness. So we derive joy just from being bodhisattvas of the earth. We don't have to go play video games or do something else. We have a sense of mission, and we have a sense of compassion, and we feel great joy in being able to contribute to the noble mission of Kosen Rufu that the Daishonin opened the way to with his very life. Okay, so the element ku in the word kudoku means good fortune or happiness. It also refers to the merit achieved by wiping out evil, because we've wiped out delusion. We've defeated fundamental darkness by becoming Buddhas in our present form. If we can achieve the 6th stage of practice, that's exactly what we've accomplished. Nothing can alter our attitude or our determination to work as hard as we can till the last moment of our life, continue to progress and express the validity of the teaching of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and Nichiren. It also means the merit achieved by wiping out evil, while the element toku or doku refers to the virtue one acquires by bringing about good. Thus, the word kudoku means to attain Buddhahood in one's present form. That's what I was just explaining. The real benefit is attaining Buddhahood. You can chant for this or that, and you absolutely see a result from the phenomenal world, but the real benefit is attaining Buddhahood in your present form, reaching the 6th stage of practice. It also means the purification of the 6 sense organs, because that's what you get as part of the package. Okay? You should understand that to practice the Lotus Sutra, as the sutra itself directs, is to carry out the purification of the 6 senses. So as you are practicing, you actually are qualifying and qualifying and qualifying yourself. You're purifying those 6 sense organs. You're qualifying yourself to actually be the Buddha, in actuality, not theoretically. All right? Point 2, continuing on the middle of page 148. Regarding the purification of the 6 sense organs, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says, Nichiren says, with regard to the 800 eye benefits obtained by those who uphold the Lotus Sutra, the term eye benefits means the ability to see that those who do not believe in the Lotus Sutra will fall into the hell of incessant suffering, and that those who do believe in it will attain Buddhahood. By upholding the Lotus Sutra, one can obtain the 800 eye benefits. The word eye refers to the Lotus Sutra. And as the Universal Worthy Sutra says, the Great Vehicle Sutras are the eyes of the Buddhas. So again, these purification of the 6 sense organs, one of them is the eyes. And there's this example in the Lotus Sutra talking about a very extensively, almost overkill of what this process is, of purification of the 800 eye benefits, okay? And then it qualifies all of the other 5, 6 sense organs accomplish the same manner of purification in the same way. So he says, by upholding the Lotus Sutra, one can obtain the 800 eye benefits, which is in parallel to all the other benefits. The word eye refers to the Lotus Sutra, as the Universal Worthy says, the great vehicle sutras are the eyes of the Buddha. Now, when he says this, when he's talking about the great vehicle sutras, he's talking about Mahayana sutras, because this is obviously Universal Worthy is saying this. Okay, so this includes, though, as the essential teaching, the Nirvana and the Lotus. And now when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they are obtaining these 800, these eye benefits, which are enumerated as 800. And the same applies to the benefits associated with the ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. So it explains the 800 eye benefits, and then it qualifies that at the same time, all other sensory organs, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your tongue, your body is touch, are also purified. Point 3 at the bottom of page 148. On the simile of the bright mirror in the passage, if one upholds the Lotus Sutra, his body will be very pure, like pure lapis lazuli. Living beings will all delight to see it, and it will be like a bright mirror in which forms and shapes are all reflected. So if one upholds the Lotus Sutra, his body will be very pure, like the Gohonzon, and become like the mirror of the Gohonzon. Your life will reflect your life condition of being the Buddha, and your wisdom will express such reality. So he says, and it will be like a bright, pure, bright mirror in which forms and shapes are all reflected. We see everything as the Buddha would see them, because we are the Buddha. We've brought forth our eternally endowed three bodies, and they're manifest now because we've reached and revealed stage 6 of practice. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, in this famous passage in the Lotus Sutra, the simile of the mirror is employed. The sutra passage is saying that persons whose 6 sense organs are pure will be like lapis lazuli, or like bright mirrors in which one sees the major world system or the 1,000,000,000-fold world. In other words, you perceive the entire Dharma realm exactly as it is, that there's no separation between anything. There's no separation between any living beings and the environment that supports their life. You become a Buddha. That's Buddha wisdom. All right? Now when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, they see and understand. They have Buddha wisdom. They see and understand the 10,000 phenomena as though these were reflected in a bright mirror. It becomes very clear. It's not a reach. It's not theoretical. It's how you actually perceive life. This bright mirror is the Lotus Sutra, because what is the Lotus Sutra? It's Nam-myoho Renge-kyo in the latter day of the law. What is your very life, your mind and body? They're Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, okay? And in particular, it is the Treasure Tower chapter, or again, we may say that it is the bright mirror of our single minds of faith. That single mind of faith is to be of the same mind as Nichiren, which is what you have accomplished when you reach the 6th stage of practice. Your thinking is in accord with the desire for Kosen Rufu. And your compassion is such that you don't think of only yourself, you think of others. And that's why you do Shakabuku. The passage as a whole employs these two similes of lapis lazuli as a bright mirror. It begins by saying that one's body will be very pure. Well, you've purified your 6 sense organs, so yes, you're pure as it relates to the teaching and what's necessary. This isn't about a purity of action that precludes any kind of divergence into the 9 worlds, all right? But since the body and mind, in the end, are not two different things, this virtue of purity must apply to both of them. So again, you've purified your mind, you've purified your body, you're in a purified state of Buddhahood is what he's really referring to. In the phrase pure bright mirror, pure means the purity that stands in contrast to impurity. So this is all about flipping, good and evil are the same thing. It's just one's a diluted state and one's the enlightened state. Okay, so in the phrase pure bright mirror, pure means a purity that stands in contrast to impurity. It's the contrasting of delusion and enlightenment. And bright means a brightness that stands in contrast to a lack of brightness, that is darkness or ignorance. So again, delusion versus enlightenment. The word mirror represents the single mind. The single mind is the single mind of Nichiren. At that point in time, you've discovered the Gohonzon that is your very life, the real Gohonzon. Okay, you're not the mirror that's the Gohonzon inside your Butsudan has allowed you to progress and progress and progress, and you've now attained the same state of mind that Nichiren has because you believe everything that he's taught you, and you've utilized it in your daily life, and you've manifested with the powers of your own life. The word mirror represents the single mind. From another viewpoint, pure represents the truth of temporary existence, bright represents the truth of non-substantiality, and mirror represents the truth of the middle way. In the phrase in which forms and shapes are all reflected, the word all refers to the 10 worlds. So once again, you've attained the Buddhahood that is not limited to enlightenment. It's all 9 worlds. and the 10th world of enlightenment are simultaneously. All 10 worlds contain all the other 10 worlds. So you've brought forth the 10th world of enlightenment, even if you might be in the state of hell, or you're in hungry spirits, or you're in animality, or you're in the next and the next and the next. It doesn't matter. Everything now reflects your Buddha nature, because that is your fundamental nature at this point. Ultimately then, the pure bright mirror represents the truth that the two elements of body and mind are the entity of Myoho Renge-kyo. You are the entity of Myoho Renge-kyo. You're a Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come one. The pure bright mirror is the mind of faith, being of the same mind as Nichiren. That's what allowed you to get that point. Faith. And only faith in his teaching will allow you to achieve that point. And for the Bodhisattva in his pure body to view the major world system is to see it in the three realms of existence. So you perceive past, present, and future. You perceive the single moment of life that you exist in, moment to moment to moment. You see the phenomenal realm exactly as it is. You see the Dharma realm as something that's inseparable from everything that you experience and live in. Point 4, on the words, while these persons uphold this sutra, they will dwell safely on rare ground, because accomplishing all this is not a simple task. It takes dutta, it takes diligence. You must go through many obstacles that are what we call the devil of the sixth heaven, trying to sway you from the path. If you've defeated them and you've gotten to stage 6, then you have defeated fundamental darkness. You won't have a problem with fundamental darkness changing your mind. You don't go Titan if you've actually attained Buddhahood, ever. So anybody that goes Titan, quits practicing, strictly, they frankly acknowledge through their own behavior that they never had attained Buddhahood in the first place. They were always Buddhas in theory. They still are. They can still attain Buddhahood at some future point, but they're going to have to overcome the slander that they've created by discarding the pure body that they've been gifted through the compassion of the teaching that allowed them to perceive and then manifest it. The words "these persons" refer to the votaries of the Lotus Sutra, who are among the various people in the country of Japan. The words "rare ground" refer to the principle and actual fact of manifesting the original state of enlightenment, revealing the eternally endowed three bodies and perceiving yourself to be exactly what you've always been, a thus come one. That's being a Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, thus come one, because we come about through this clarity through chanting Daimoku to the Gohonzon. We ultimately manifest the Gohonzon within our own life, and we become a bright mirror for others to be able to see clearly by virtue of being associated with us and us listening to us expound the correct teaching. They also recall the pronouncement made in the chapter Distinctions and Benefits. The Buddha preaches a rarely encountered law. It is. Think about the number of people on earth and how many people have ever heard of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, let alone have practiced it to the point of achieving stage 6. That's a practice. That's rare ground. In particular, they refer to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, okay, because that's the basis of having achieved that state of life. Now, the rare ground occupied by Nichiren and his followers who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the object of devotion, the bright mirror to be broadly disseminated in the latter day of the law. So again, he says, in particular, to summarize this point, in particular, they refer to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Now the rare ground occupied by Nichiren and his followers who chant Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the object of devotion. Our very lives are synonymous with the Gohonzon. Okay? The bright mirror, which others can then have the opportunity to perceive the depth of the change and the transformation that can occur in anyone's life, regardless of their life condition or the world that they occupy most of the time. All right? the bright mirror to be broadly disseminated in the latter day of the law. That is the Gohonzon. That's what that bright mirror is referring to. We become living aspects of the Gohonzon itself. Okay, the Gohonzon doesn't continue to stay in the altar as something separate from us, as a special supernatural object of devotion that, bestows upon us. We realize that we bestow everything upon ourselves. Everything that we achieve from chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo to the Gohonzon is actually established by virtue of us karmically based on our actions. Generally speaking, the benefits gained from the purification of the 6 sense organs that are described in this chapter correspond to the 10 stages of faith and the stage of resemblance to enlightenment, the 4th stage of the 6 stages of practice, if you remember what those 6 stages are. The 4th is resemblance to enlightenment, because you're doing everything that a Buddha would do. You just haven't come to the conclusion that you are one. All right? Stage 6 is doing nothing more than that, coming to the realization that the truth of the teaching is the truth of your life. The Bodhisattva constant exertion, who is the member of the assembly addressed in this chapter, represents the 3rd of the 10 stages of faith, that of assiduous or assertion. One should understand, however, that in the latter day of the law, it is the votaries of the Lotus Sutra, it is those of us who chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo who act as the Bodhisattva constant exertion. We are the teachers of the law. Of such persons who uphold the Lotus Sutra itself, the sutra itself says, this is what is meant by diligence, or dutta. Okay, chapter 11, Treasure Tower. Okay, and we've gotten this far. We're going to continue now. That was all of chapter 19. We're going to continue for as long as we can from chapter 150 and go into chapter 20, or page 150, going into chapter 20. The Bodhisattva never disparaging, which is the model for our behavior, and the model of that Daishonin utilized for his behavior. But it's 30 important points, so we won't get through this all in this video. Point 1, regarding Bodhisattva never disparaging, at the bottom of page 150. Pardon me. The record of the orally transmitted teachings. Pardon me. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says the word constantly, and that's diligence, that's dutta, that's you're on all the time. In the name constantly, never disparaging, refers to the Bodhisattva never disparaging, who is constantly present in the 3 existences of past, present, and future. Why? Because we take on the very same exact behavior and the same mindset as Bodhisattva never disparaging in the process of us becoming Buddhists in our present form. When we get to stage 6 of practice, we will be just like Bodhisattva never disparaging. Nobody can bum us out by saying bad things about us. We actually have compassion and mercy for them because we know that they're creating great slander, and never, ever, ever, ever stops us from preaching the law. Okay? The correct law of Nam Myoho Renge Kyo for the latter day. The name never disparaging refers to the 3 inherent potentials of the Buddha nature. Okay, there's an asterisk there. Let me explain what those are specifically. They are the innate Buddha nature, the wisdom to perceive it, and the good deeds or Buddhist practice to develop this wisdom and cause the Buddha nature to emerge. It's not attained. It's already inside you. It's your original state of existence. Good deeds and development of wisdom, and the developed wisdom realizes the innate Buddha nature. Good deeds aid the development of wisdom, and the developed wisdom realizes the innate nature. That's just describing the process of going through the 6 stages of practice, actually. These 3 causes interact to enable one to attain Buddhahood. So continuing, he says up here, The name never disparaging refers to the three inherent potentials of the Buddha nature that is present in the minds of all living beings, because it's part of your original state of life. You're eternally endowed three bodies. Then Buddha nature is the Dharma nature. Okay, so the Buddha nature is the nature that allows you to perceive the entire Dharma realm, which is it includes everything. All right? The Buddha nature is the Dharma nature, and the Dharma nature is Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, so again, the Dharma nature is Myoho Renge Kyo. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo is the manner in which we were able to achieve and perceive this perfection of our mind that allows us to become living Buddhas. Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, thus come ones. Point 2, regarding the Bodhisattva gainer of great authority to whom this chapter is addressed. The record of the orally transmitted teaching says, on page 151, the word gainer stands for the manifested body, the word great stands for the Dharma body, and the word authority stands for the reward body. Now, those are the three bodies of which we're eternally endowed, right? Okay, so, or again, we may say that the word gainer stands for the truth of temporary existence when we're in a manifest form so that we can actually preach the law as the Buddha. The word great stands for the middle way, and the word authority stands for the truth of non-substantiality. The whole then represents the perfect unification of the three truths and the three bodies. The three truths are non-substantiality, temporary existence, and the truth of the middle way. That was what people were trying to focus on in practicing Tendai's Makashikan, great perfection and insight, or great perfection and insight. I believe that's the translation. But again, the Makashikan of Tendai. So he's saying basically the three bodies, the manifest body, the reward body, and the Dharma body are the same as the three truths. Or pardon me, the same thing as the three bodies, the three truths of non-substantiality, temporary existence, and the middle way. Point 3, regarding the Buddha awesome sound king. So in other words, that it's all living beings. It's all of us. It's whether you're enlightened or not, it doesn't matter. Every living being is eternally endowed with the three bodies. They just have to bring them forth. They have to manifest them. They can only do that through faith in the teaching. Okay, so let me see. Point 3, I will try and get through this really quickly. Regarding the Buddha Awesome Sound King, point 3, regarding the Buddha Awesome Sound King, the record of the orally transmitted teaching says the word awesome refers to the element of form or body, and the word sound refers to the element of mind. The word king refers to the non-duality of body and mind, because outside of the body and mind, there is no Buddha, right? You don't have body without mind, and you don't have mind without body. Now that we have entered the latter day of the law, to chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo is to be an awesome sound king. The reason is that the word sound stands for the daimoku, or titles of all the various provisional teachings, while the word awesome stands for the 5 characters of the title of the Lotus Sutra, Myoho Renge Kyo. The word king stands for the practitioners of the Lotus Sutra. The daimoku of the Lotus Sutra is like the roar of a lion, while other sutras are like the cries of the other beasts. Lotus Sutra is referred to as king because it is the king of the sutras. Chapter 23, Medicine King. Now when Nichiren and his followers chant Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, they become the Buddha Awesome Sound King. And we'll continue with point 4, and that mosquito will be gone when we come back on page 152. Thank you. See you then.